Okay, so I'm still here. If you still can hear me, just please shoot a little chat that you could still hear me. Sometimes we have technical difficulties depending on whether we're live or not. Okay, great. And I'm just going to wait a couple more minutes till 7 till I start. But just to let you guys know, I kind of gave a brief description on what this class is going to cover. I really should have made this a two-part class because I'm going to go over everything that there is on text for Design Space, and then I'm also going to go over how to use Inkscape to get your text warped or curved so that you can put it like on a plate or something round. And then I'm also going to use Microsoft Word if you're uncomfortable with Inkscape. But I mean, I'm going to go over details on step by step on how to use Inkscape. Preferably, that's what I use. To me, it's easier to do it through Inkscape than through Microsoft Word. So I'll go over that stuff. And you can unmute yourself if you have a question now, or you can even shoot a chat to me if you have a question that has to do with text. If you're having any issues with text or have any questions. We have a couple more minutes till 7 o'clock my time, so I'm just going to wait a couple more minutes. And as far as the chat goes, because I'm working on my screen, I don't have two screens at my home, so I have to minimize the screen that I can see the chat on and then go back and forth. So if you shoot me a chat and I'm taking a little while because I hadn't seen it yet, I'll stop in the middle of what I'm working on just to kind of go back and make sure that there's no questions out there that I haven't answered. So just bear with me on that. Or like I said, it might be easier for you to just chime in with your question instead of shooting a chat, because then I'll be able to hear. Okay, well, it's 7 o'clock my time, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to class. Thanks for joining me on this Design Space lesson. Like I said, this is going to be going over all about text. And let's get rid of what I have here. Okay, I'm just going to type in Happy Holidays, and of course, you know that it automatically defaults to Cricket Alphabet. And with this Cricket Alphabet, there are 2 layers to this text. I actually had a question earlier today that had to do with sizing, and if you notice on this text box right around the text, there's some space in between the H, and if I put it up to the ruler, I'm going to turn on my grid lines here. It's showing me that the size is in height is 1.03, but if I line that H up to the 1, or even up here, I'm just trying to do it down here so you could see, it's not an inch in height. And so what I've found out is that whenever you have a layer hidden, I think it's trying to take that size into account too. So what I did was ungroup it. The only thing is, I don't suggest this if you're working on a sentence or words. I would, if you're working on like a letter for vinyl on a cup or a wine glass, if you're just doing like, let's say, a split letter or something like that, I'm going to take the H for example. now if I do 1.03, see, now you can see that it's ungrouped, it's showing 0.61. So it wasn't 1.03. So if I change it to 1.03, you're going to see it gets larger. So that's the true size right there. But like I said, I don't know why it's happening like that. I would only worry about it with like one letter that I'm working on. I'm not going to be ungrouping every single letter so that I can get the size correctly. If that's the case, I would just use my set canvas and put a wine glass in there just to make sure that it's the size that I want it to look on that glass or whatever you're working on. But just wanted to point that out there. I put that on Facebook earlier today. If you're wondering why it doesn't look true to size, that's what I came across. So I'm going to make everything go back to it being back to grouped. Okay. Okay, here we are. Okay, so I just wanted to go over the edit panel and the layers panel when working with text. So on the edit panel, you know that when you go into insert a text, I'm going to delete this really quick. Sometimes too when you add a text, before you start typing your text, let's say you already know the font that you want to work with and you click over here and you start changing the text. I've noticed that sometimes it gets pretty glitchy if you don't put a word first and then go to the edit box to change the font. So I would just suggest to go ahead and type out your word first and then change the font. So I'm going to put Happy Holidays. So here in the edit panel, you see all of your text, which is pretty much alphabetically ordered, and anything that has a number before is going to be at the top. So right now it's automatically showing me all fonts. Right up here you'll see that there's a drop down and it'll give you all fonts, which is going to include anything that's loaded onto your PC and then also all of the Cricut Design Space fonts. If you chose System Fonts, this is going to show everything that's just on your PC, no Cricut Design Space fonts. The next one is just Cricut fonts, and then Single Layer. So Single Layer is going to show you pretty much everything that does not have 2 layers or more than 1 layer. And then Has a Writing Style is going to show you what you can use when you're writing your using Cricut pens or any type of pen in the pen holder. And so this is going to be a single line type of font. And then underneath that you can choose regular, bold, some text depending on what you're working with. Not all of these will be available, but it's either regular, bold, bold italic, writing, and writing italic. I'm going to change this back. Okay. All right, underneath that is to change the size of your font by the point. This is can be changed using the arrows or by typing in the size. Or you can also drag a corner to make it smaller or larger. Right next to that is your align left, align center, and align right. Hi, if you just joined the class, if you wouldn't mind muting yourself, thank you. Okay, and then right underneath that is going to be your isolate letters. And so what that is pretty much going to do is going to ungroup the letters so that you can move them around yourself. And another tip that I like to throw out there is anytime that you're going to be attaching or ungrouping or welding, anything different to your font or to your text, once you've done that and you decide that you want to change the font, unfortunately you cannot do that. You have to actually add a new text line to change the font once you've altered it. Just be aware of that. Okay, right underneath that is going to be letter spacing. And this I like to use whenever I'm working with, I'm going to change the font to like a cursive font.
Well, you got the door open for.
Sorry about that. Okay. So on cursive fonts, if you've noticed when you are working with a cursive font, it's separated. They're not ever really touching. The letters are, you have to move them together if you want them to look like one word. Let's see. Okay, so for example, this one here. I like this font when I'm using a pen because the smaller this is from defont.com. The smaller the text is, it looks like a one-line font. So there's a lot of fonts on defont.com that you can look for that look like a single line font. So this is one of them. So as you can see, the letters are separated and I want them to be closer together. And you can either ungroup them and scoot them together yourself by moving them each one, or you can use your letter spacing, and that's what this is here. So if I were to go down in size, you can see that the letters are starting to scoot together. And so if at this point when I scoot them together and I did decide, no, I don't want to use this font, I want to use a different one, I can actually change it because I haven't altered it. I haven't ungrouped it. I haven't attached it to anything. I'm just scooting it together by using the letter spacing. So that's one way to do that. And sometimes, like for holidays, it looks like all of the letters are touching except the S. And then on happy, they're not, well, the A and the P aren't touching. So in this case, I probably would have to ungroup them to get all of those letters together, because if I keep scooting them down, holidays, it's probably going to, you see the L starts running into the I. And so, but that's a good way to use letter spacing. Same thing with line spacing. If I had two lines.
What font was that?
This font is KG Only Human. And I'm going to show you some fonts in defont.com, but you can write it down. It's a font that I use quite often. But I'll show you all of her fonts. The person that made these fonts, she has quite a bit of fonts that are really nice, so I'll point her fonts out on defont.com in a little while. So on this one, on Happy Holidays and Merry Christmas, if you don't like the spacing between those two, then that's when you use line spacing, and I can scoot it up just a little bit. Okay, down below that is the size, width, and height. So that's going to be measuring from the top of this H to the bottom of the Y. So anything that's, you might think that it's sizing from the H to the M, but it's actually that hitting right underneath that Y. And then the width is, of course, from this side to this S, not this S. So depending on how you have it, if you have two lines together and you need to size it differently, I would insert another line and just retype that Merry Christmas part. But that's, just when you're getting into more, if you really need to fit something within a certain space. Like for subway art, that art, that text needs to be perfect on each side of whatever, if you're putting it on canvas and you want it to look exactly the same. Okay, and let's see, right underneath that is to rotate and mirror. And you can either rotate by using this, I don't know what you call this little circle up here that turns green, and you can drag it to the right or to the left to rotate. You can also rotate it by using the arrows, and you can also rotate it by 45 degree, 90 degree, this little flower looking thing here. You can move it like that. Okay, and then right next to that is to mirror it. If you're working with iron-on, I normally just work with my font like this, and once I'm ready to cut, when you go to the Go screen, there's an option to mirror once you're ready to cut. But if you want to mirror it this way, you can do so. Just remember that once you go to Go, don't click mirror if you've already mirrored it on your mat. And then this is to mirror it going vertical. Okay, and then underneath that is position, which is your X and Y coordinates. Let's see, I'm gonna copy. I'm gonna copy this just so that I can show you. Okay, so let's say that you're working on something that needs to be lined up and you want this one here to line up right with this one. If I look at the x coordinate of this, it's a 0.8. So in order for me to get this one lined up with this one, I'd change it to a 0.8. Right now it's 0.7. So I would just hit 0.8 and it would scoot over just a tad just so it's lined up at this on the right. Okay, any questions on this so far? Okay. Let's go on to the layers panel. Okay, so on layers, you're going to see, of course, I have two layers going on. I have this one here and this one here. So you can see it's here twice. If you wanted to change the color so that you know what color paper or whatever material that you're cutting, you can change the color here. This is also where you would change from cutting to writing to scoring and to print. You can also hide your layer if you're not going to be working with this one. You can either delete it or hide it, and that's by clicking this little eye here to hide and delete and unhide. And then your tools up at the top are to weld, slice, weld, flatten, attach, and contour. And let me get rid of this, and I'm going to start a whole new text so that I can show you some of that. Trying to see what's a good font to work with for welding. Okay, so welding, I'm just going to use this one. I'm going to ungroup this, and I'm going to scoot the letters together so that they're all touching because I want them to weld. I want them to cut out as one, not individually. So for happy, I would highlight all of the letters that I want welded and click weld. And it's just going to melt everything together. So this is going to cut out as one word without being detached from each other. I'm going to use the same font for slicing. Oh my goodness, okay. Okay, let me go back on weld because I didn't even show you how I welded that. Okay, so when I scooted everything together and I highlighted everything, I just clicked weld, but if I just wanted two letters to be welded, I would select the two. You can either put a box around it and click on weld, or you can click on one, hold the shift key down, click on the next one, and then click on weld. Normally I just kind of highlight which ones I want to be welded or sliced together. Okay, so on the slice feature, in order to slice, you'll need to have two images or text that are one layer. Sorry, I'm going to unmute. I'm going to mute someone here. Sorry, I hear some background noise. Okay, so if you go on to, let's go back here. I'm going to use this S as an example. just say that I think that the S is too long, so I'm going to slice part of it off. So you're using 2 images that have 1 layer. Now this circle, you can see that I have another layer here, but it's hidden. So I should be fine. You can delete it if you want to, but it's not necessary. So I have the circle selected, and I'm going to hold my Shift key down, and I'm going to select the S, and now you can see that my slice tool is available. So if I click on slice, it's going to show you that I'm just taking off that bottom part of that S. That's kind of a bad example to show, but that's what slice does. If you want to alter something, slice it. Trying to think, I have a YouTube video out there on how to, there's a chevron print, and I think it's a square print, but if you want it in a circle, you can use that chevron print and then the circle and slice it, and then it made the circle just a chevron print. Now it's a nice print to use or design for like monograms on a cup. So I will post a link on how to do that. Okay, and then on flatten, flatten is if you wanted to print. And I'm going to add something in here in order to print because, let's get rid of this text. Ugh. Okay, so I just did what I told you guys not to do. I inserted a text box and then I clicked out of it, and now I'm getting this spinning wheel of death. So this is probably going to go on for a while. So I'm probably going to have to close this out and start a new page. Yeah, I'm not going to wait on it. I'm just going to refresh it. Okay, let's bring these back. Okay, so I'm showing you on how to flatten or how to use print to cut or print and cut. If I were to just print this without having it attached to anything, it's flatten it first. That's what flatten does. It's now, you see it change to the little printer icon, so now I can print it. You can change the color. Actually, the color change needs to be done before you flatten it. So let's go back and unflatten it, or let's undo it, because now it's, I don't know if you noticed, but whenever I unflattened it, it separated everything. So I'm not going to go through each and every little letter just to change the color. So I'm just going to undo everything, go back, and then change the color to purple. And then I can flatten it. So when I go to print it, oh, this is too big. Oh, yeah, I'm at 8 inches. Okay, so let's make it 5. When I go to print, it's going to look fuzzy. And the reason it's fuzzy is because it's defaulted to bleed. And what that means is that when it's ready to cut, it's not going to have any white areas around it. So what it's going to do is going to cut every single letter out individually. And that's not what you want. You want it on like an invitation or something, or a card. So what I need to do is I need to attach it to something. So I'm going to insert a rectangle. Okay, I'm going to arrange it to go to the back, and I'm going to change the rectangle to white because I don't want anything to print but that Happy Holidays. If you made it bigger, like to card size, you know, depending on, if I left it like this, it's going to print and cut this rectangle right around it. So I'll just leave it as that. What you're going to do is select the 2 and then click flatten. And now when I go to my print preview, you're going to see that you're going to be able to read Happy Holidays. It's not blurred out anymore. And it's kind of hard to tell because I'm using a white rectangle, but you'll see that it's going to cut right around there. You could see that that white part is right over the grid line, so that will cut around there. Okay, and then let's go back and show you attach. Does anybody have any questions so far on what I've gone over? Am I going too fast? Let me go back to the other screen so that I can see if anyone's asked any questions. Okay, no questions so far. Okay. I should have deleted the happy holidays, but I wanted to see. Sometimes whenever you put text in it just depends if you ungroup your text. Sometimes when you go to the Go screen, I don't know if you ever noticed that your letters are not the way you had them. They're jumbled around on your mat, and that's just because it's defaulted to save paper, so it moves around the letters the way they want them to fit so that you save paper. But in this case, I wrote, I typed out Merry Christmas, so it's going to type out just the way it is. But if I had ungrouped everything, it might have jumbled everything around. So when you go to Go, like I said, it's going to move everything around. Attach, you can use it for several things. You can attach it to, let's see. You could attach it to this rectangle and it'll cut out the letters from the rectangle if you wanted to like punch those letters out and just have the Merry Christmas cut out of that rectangle part. There's different ways to use attach. You can use it on different things, but does anybody have questions on that? Because if you have a specific question, it might help me on what to give you a good example. I'm going to do a writing font because that's a good thing if you're writing on a card or writing on an invitation. So I'm going to change this to write. And I'm going to change the color of the ink so that you could see it. Okay, so if you're wanting to write with pens on this little tag here, then you would select the two and click attach. And now when you go to your preview mat, you'll see that it's going to write on that pink paper. Okay, let's see. For contour, let's see. I'm trying to think on what I can do for contour. There's a font out there. I think it's a varsity font. Let's try that one. Okay, so this varsity letter is actually through Cricut Design Space, but I do have a varsity one that's from defont.com. And this is a good example. Let's see. I'm going to have to capitalize everything. Okay. Okay, so for this particular font, it's a one-layer font because I downloaded it. But let's say you don't want all of this to cut out. You want just this inside. I can use hide contour or this contour button here. Okay, because I downloaded this font, it's telling me that it's not available for text, but actually if I ungroup these letters, And you can ungroup by right-clicking and selecting ungroup, or by ungrouping down below on the layers panel. Okay, so I'm going to have to do each individual letter to do this, but I'm just going to show you on the S. So now I'm going to go ahead and contour. Oh my goodness. If anybody has, they're unmuted, can you please mute yourself? Okay. All right, so on here, I clicked on contour, and so now you can see that I have 1, 2, 3 areas to hide. I'm gonna hide the outside, and it turns like an aqua blue when you select it. And then I'm gonna select this middle part here. And then I'm gonna click out of it. And now you can see that that outer area here went away. So that's how to use hide contour on text. You can also do it on Cricut Design Space text, but because those normally have layers, you can actually just hide the layers. This one I couldn't. It's just a one layer, so that's a way to get rid of something if you needed to. Okay, and then at the bottom is group and ungroup. So when you have more than one item selected, you can group the items together or ungroup them. And grouping is basically just to kind of get everything together so that you can move it around on your mat. It doesn't necessarily do anything once you're ready to cut. That's why you usually have to click attach. So just know that. Normally I don't, sometimes I'll just drag a box around it, and if I need to move it somewhere else, I'll just drag it that way without having to group it. However, you know, you want to work with it, but that's what group and ungroup is. And then duplicate is also down below. So if I need another A, I would just highlight that A and select duplicate, and then of course to delete. So that's going over the edit and layers panel for text. Are there any questions? Okay. All right, let's look on my notes here because I have quite a bit to show you. That was pretty.
Cindy wants to redo that.
I'm sorry?
Cindy was asking if you can redo that contour again with the letter S.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Sure. Okay, so let's go back to this letter here. I'm going to get rid of all of this so that I can make it bigger. Okay, so for this particular font, like I said, I downloaded it from dafont.com, and what I did when I first tried to use the contour, it told me I couldn't use a hide contour for text. But I've noticed that when I click ungroup, I'm able to use the contour feature. So that's what I did. I ungrouped it. So now I'm going to click on contour, and it's going to show me all the different areas that I can hide. So right now it's showing that I just wanted this inside to stay. So I click on this outside layer, and it's kind of hard to see, but it turns to like an aqua blue. So that is selected. And then I'm going to select this middle one here. And then, you know what, let's get rid of the inside of this as well. Okay, and then double click out, and it all went away. So it's all hidden. So now only this is going to cut out. Did that make sense? Okay, great.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions? Okay. All right, I think I went over everything that had to cover the layers and edit panel for text, adding text. So now I'm going to get into how to warp your text, either using Design Space, which kind of takes a little bit of time. It's going to look like the other ways take some time too, but it's because I'm going to be showing you step by step on how to do it. But once you get it down, it'll be easier or faster to get your text warped versus doing it in Design Space. So I'm going to get rid of this. And I'm going to change the font. Okay. I'm going to use set canvas because I'm going to use an example as I'm using, I'm going to say I'm going to be cutting vinyl for a charger. So I'm going to use basic canvas, and in basic canvas there's just basic shapes. So let's just pull up a circle, and we'll say that it's a 12-inch circle. Okay, so if I wanted Merry Christmas to be arched in Design Space, I would have to ungroup it. And like I said, let's say that later on you don't like Merry Christmas, that font, or the one I'm working with is it's a downloaded font. It takes some time to scoot every single letter out. So once you decide to, or if you do decide to change your mind on the font, you're just going to have to delete everything and start over by scratch, start over from the beginning. So let's ungroup this. And once you ungroup it, now you see that you can move each letter and sometimes it's easier if you do it using the outside of the circle, just so that it's kind of lined up better. It's up to you. But like I said, this takes a little bit of time, especially depending on what word you're working with. So you can either do it like this, and just be sure that once you're done getting it all arched, or however you want it, then you're going to highlight everything, and then you're going to click attach. Because now that I ungrouped everything, if I go to the Go screen, you're going to see my letters are not going to be the way I had them on the screen. It's going to be, not spelled out right, and it's not curved. So I select it and attach it, and then I go to Go. You'll see that MER part is going to be curved a little bit, and then everything else is jumbled. Okay, so that's one way to do it. And I'm not too sure if Design Space is going to be upgrading, giving us that option. I know there's a lot of people out there that would like it, because this is very time consuming, so hopefully they do. But just the way I'm working with it now, I'm already getting frustrated. I have no patience for this, so that's why I'm going to show you Inkscape. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize this, and let me know if you could see my Inkscape screen. Okay, let's see. No, I don't think y'all can see it, can you? Okay.
Nope.
Okay, how about now?
Nope. 2 hearts is what we got.
Yeah. Okay, let's see.
We can.
Yes, you can? Okay. All right. Okay, so if you don't know what Inkscape is, it's kind of like, trying to think of the other program that it's comparable to. I think it's called InDesign. I think it's a Photoshop type of program or Adobe type of program that you pay for. Inkscape is free. It's inkscape.org, and it does take a little bit of space to download, but it's really worth it, and it seems very overwhelming if you've never used a program like this before. But there's a lot of YouTube tutorials out there to learn basic, and right now I only know basic. I know how to make convert my own SVGs. I know how to create my own, simple images from scratch, and then also how to work with text, and that's about it. There's so much more that I need to learn on it. But I'm going to show you what I know so far on how to curve a text. So on Inkscape, I'm going to be using the ellipse to create circle, ellipses, and arcs tool. And then I'm also going to be using this one here. I don't even know how to pronounce that. Draw Bezier curves and straight lines. And then I'll also be using create and edit text objects. So let's go ahead and start with a circle. So what I did was I clicked on the circle, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down my control key and then click and drag the circle. If I didn't hold down control, my circle is going to be maybe not a perfect circle. I can try and eye it, but holding down the control key keeps it, what's the word? It keeps it like a perfect circle. It doesn't make it into an oval or an oblong shape. So let's get rid of that one. Okay, so when switching between certain tools, you have to, like if I need to select this, right now my circle tool is still selected. You can see the little circle on the cursor. So what I need to do is click on this arrow in order for me to grab and pull this circle wherever I need it. So normally, I think I had it defaulted to automatically have a color. Sometimes whenever you start a circle, it's going to have a fill, and I should have X'd out of everything, but it would probably have come out like that. And it doesn't really matter because either way, when I upload it into Design Space as an SVG, I can hide that layer or delete that layer. So I'm just using this circle to shape that text. So you can leave it as is, or you can change it to the way I had it, which was just the outline. And by doing that, you would go to Object, Fill, and Stroke. And if I'm going too fast, let me know. You're probably new to Inkscape, but this will be on YouTube where you can watch it again, or you can take notes. So here on Fill and Stroke, I would go to the Fill and select the X because I don't want any color. And then on Stroke Paint, it's selected on black, and then you can change the width of the line. But that, like I said, this really doesn't matter because this is just my guide. I'm not going to use this for anything else. Okay, so now I'm going to insert a text. So I select this Insert Text, Create Text, and then I'll start typing. And right at the top, you can change the font. So I'm going to use a thicker font so that it'll cut out nicely. Let's see, KG. I just downloaded some new fonts and I completely forgot to shut down restart my Inkscape, so they're not showing up in here. Okay. Okay, so this is a pretty font. It's pretty scripty. Okay, so what I'm going to do is highlight my text, and then I'm going to hold the Shift key down, and then I'm going to select the circle. You're going to go up to Path. Excuse me, is it Text? And then you're going to click on Put on Path. Now it's upside down. You can double click. If you notice, when I have it clicked one time, all the arrows are facing outwards. When you click it again, they change direction. So right here it shows you that I can spin this around. And so now I can move it like this. The only thing is, if you noticed, when it changed to the curve, the letters aren't touching. You can see the E and the R, they're separated. And for vinyl, I don't want it like that. So again, you're going to have to ungroup and move together, but to me it's easier to do it in here. I'm going to zoom in. There's this little magnifying glass up here at the top, and then I'm just going to highlight what I want to see, and it'll zoom it in. So what I'm going to do is click back on this arrow so I can select the text, and I'm going to ungroup the text. Well, you know what? Let's see. There's a step that I missed. In order for me to ungroup this, I need to make this text an object to path. So I'm going to click on Object to Path, and now I can ungroup it. And now you can see that they're each selected. So here I would just scoot it over. And like I said, because I'm showing you step by step, it probably seems like forever. You probably think that you could have finished it already in Design Space. But trust me, it is faster once you get it down. Okay, so now I have it the way I want it. Okay, I'm going to zoom back out, and by zooming back out, I'm just holding the Control key down, and then I'm zooming out with the little wheel on my mouse. Okay, so I have it the way I want it, so I'm going to highlight it and group it back together. And then I'm ready to save it. So I'm going to save as, let's do Merry Christmas Curved. Okay. Let me know. I'm going to switch back to Design Space. Can you see my Design Space screen? Probably not.
No, can't see it.
Okay, let's see. There we go.
There, we got it.
You said you got it?
Got it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to go back. I'm going to upload image. I'm going to use vector upload because that was an SVG. And if I can remember what did I save it as? That would have helped if I would have remembered. There it is. Okay. Okay, so when you bring it into Design Space, you see I have that circle there? There's a way to get rid of that, and there's too many steps, but I'm not worried about that because I'm going to get rid of it in Design Space. I can easily delete that layer. So I'm going to insert, and then I'm going to look for that circle and hide it. Now let's move all of this out of the way. This one I probably curved too much. You kind of want to use that shape that you're working with as a guide, close to what you're working with as your project. So this one's a little bit too curved for me. So you can kind of warp it that way, but then it kind of changes the way the font looks. So you just kind of have to play with it. But on here I can see, I should have taken a little bit more time, but I still see that the R's aren't very, from my screen I can see that they're a little bit off. So you just have to kind of work with it. I think I had it curved too much. But I do use this quite a bit when I'm using curved text. And then also I was going to show you how to do it in Word. And let me make sure that you can see my Word. Anybody have questions on that? I know I kind of went through that pretty quickly. But I will put on my Facebook page on how to, I'll put all the steps so that you know how to insert the circle, insert the text, you know, object to path, all that kind of stuff. It's not that many steps, but I can list them for you. Does anybody have any questions on that so far? Did I confuse you? Okay. All right, so let me bring up my Word document, and I'll let you know when I shared that with you. Just one moment. Okay, can you see my Word document? It's just a blank Word document.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I see it.
Thank you. Okay, so here on Word, I have the Microsoft Word 2013. So if you have a different version, it may look a little bit different to you. But on here, I would just insert Word Art. And so I would go to the Insert tab and then click on Word Art. You know what? Let's change this because this is defaulting to an old version. Let's do. Okay, that looks better. Okay, so Word Art. And when you use Word Art, it automatically defaults to shadows and different things. So you might want to take that off before you're ready to save it because that might mess you up once it's in Design Space. So by changing that, you would go to the Format tab here, and under Text Effects, click on No Shadow. Right now it has a shadow, so click on No Shadow. You can see that it changes. So we'll do that, and then I'm going to change the font. This was the font I was looking for. I couldn't find it in Design Space. Okay. Okay, so on here, now I'm going to go back to Format, go back to Text Effects, and the Transform. And you have all these different ways to warp it or curve it. So we're just going to work with, let's do the arch down since I already did the arch up. Okay, I'm just zooming in by holding the Control key and zooming up with my mouse. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to screenshot it because I can't upload a Word document. So I'm going to screenshot it and save it as a PNG or a JPEG file, and you would use basic upload. And this could be time consuming too because I'm going to have to delete everything in between, like all the white areas. But there's a tool under Windows. I use Windows 7, I think, and it's called Snipping Tool. And you can do a search if you work off of a Windows for that. And I just save it. I don't know if you can see the bottom of my screen on what I'm clicking on. You probably could only see my Word document, but it's called Snipping Tool. So when I click on it, I have it saved on my.
We can see it.
Okay, great. So I have it saved down below because I use it all the time. So I'm going to click on New, and then the little crosshairs shows up. So I'm just going to take a picture of the text right here, and then save it. And it's saved as a PNG. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to have to switch back here. Okay, so I'm going to upload using basic upload. Find that file. There it is. Okay, and right here is where I'm going to select and delete. So I don't want this area here, and I don't want I want all of this to cut out. This is a bad text for cutting because it's some of it is thick and some of it is really thin, but just, just to show you. So going on to the next step, I'm not going to print this. I mean, you can, but I'm going to just use this as a cutting image. So I uncheck the preserve for printing because I'm going to cut it. And that looks better. So like I said, it kind of helps to really get that. I could have inserted a circle in Word and worked off of that to see a better curve in there. But that's another way to get that curved text. And in Word, it actually pretty much connected everything together. It didn't really mess anything up. So does anybody have any questions on changing your text in Word to get it into Design Space? The only thing is when you're using Inkscape and Word, you're not able to use Cricut fonts. You're only going to be able to use your fonts that are on your PC. So that's the only downfall. So like I said, hopefully Design Space gets that updated, because it would be really helpful just to curve your text without having to move every single letter. Does anybody have any questions? Y'all are pretty easy. You haven't asked me any hard questions. I did want to show you defont.com on some of the fonts that I really like. And also, if you haven't used, or if you're having trouble on finding a particular font, like what's going to look good with what, there's a website called wordmark.it, and that will show you all the text that you have on your PC. So you can type out something and see a preview of it and compare it to other text so that you can select your text. With that too, you cannot see Design Space fonts. It's only fonts on your PC. So if nobody has any questions, I'm going to click back to my screen and see if anyone has a question. No questions. Okay, so let's go to defont.com. And if you're not familiar with defont.com, it's a website with free fonts. So I have a ton of them downloaded on my computer. I haven't had any type of issues with any viruses or anything like that. I've used defont.com for, I don't know, 6 or so years. So I really recommend it. There's a lot of other websites out there that also have free fonts, but this is my go-to. I go to this one all the time. And so it's pretty neat because right now it's Christmas, our Christmas time. So if you're looking for a Christmas font, you can go under Holiday and select Christmas. And you can type, depending on what your text is going to say, you can type it in there, click submit, and you can see every single font under Christmas with whatever font that you're wanting to write or use. So it's pretty nice to see it all in there. If you're looking for a scripty font, let's go to calligraphy. You can see all the calligraphy type of fonts, the handwriting type of fonts. And once you're ready to download, you can click right here to the right. You can download it there. You can click on the font itself if you wanted to see it. Sometimes they'll have, like a sample. This is really awesome. And you can see all the letters and the numbers, what they're going to look like. And then you can download from this screen as well. And to download, you just click on download. Mine, it depends on what type of Windows or whatever you're running. It depends on how it downloads. But mine goes to the bottom of my screen. And so the zip folder is down below, so I would just click on it. And then this is the true type font. This is the file that I need for the text. So I would double click on that and then click on install. And once you click on install and it's done, well, let's see, I probably don't have this font, so let's click on install. Once, I don't know if you saw, there's like a little, around my cursor, like a little circle that went around. Once that's done, it's done installing, so you can just click back out of that box and it's installed. So when you're ready to use it in Design Space, just make sure that you refresh your Design Space page or log out and log back in, and then you'll be able to see it in Design Space. Did anybody have any questions? I don't know if somebody unmuted themselves or...
I do. When you download it, does it save to Design Space space in Word,
Yes.
and then when I download a font, I have the zip drive.
Mm-hmm.
Do I need to save the zip drive, or can I delete at that point, or will that delete the whole font?
Well, like, can you see my files at the bottom? Did you see where I clicked to open it up?
I
Were you
see a
able to see
file's
that?
open, but I don't know how you got
Okay. So, the very first one on the far left, it says MF, really awesome. I guess that's the name of the font. Do you see that folder down below?
Yes.
Okay. So when I clicked on it, it shows me these three ones, a README. So it's going to tell you for personal use only, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
This one here, the PNG file, that's probably just going to show you what the font looks like. And then the TTF file, which is a true type font, that's what you need. When I click on that, that's all I'm downloading. This
It
didn't
doesn't show
save.
us that, though. We don't get to see that on you. I mean, I know.
Oh, you're not seeing my. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Right, it's not showing the bar, or
Okay,
you don't.
Okay, let me print screen it so you can see. Let's see, how do I do this? Mm-hmm. Okay. Let me see if I can choose a different screen. Hold on just a moment. Let's see.
Sure.
That's weird. Okay, I have to. Okay, well, let me just show you this really quick. Yeah, I have to be clicking all these different screens in order for you to see it. Can you see now
Yes.
my folder? Okay. So when I opened up that folder, these three items showed up, and I just need the true type font. So once I double click on that and download that, or click install, that's all that's installing. Everything else is not there. Once you X out of it, it's gone. So none of that is saved to my hard drive.
Okay.
So when you unzip, like when you click on download, where does your folder go and how do you unzip it? Have you done it before?
That's my question, because I have several that I've downloaded, but I just have them in a zip file, and I don't necessarily see them showing up. Some do, and not all of them do show up in Design
So
Space.
I'm trying to figure out how your does your folder go down below like the way mine was, or
Yes.
does it? Okay, and then when you double click on it, are you just double clicking on that true type font?
The zip drive is saving all three things that you're showing there. The README and the font, and then whatever the first line is, true font.
Mm-hmm. It's saving all of that?
Mm-hmm. So I'm saving way too much.
Everybody is actually saving it, but when she clicks on it, she's only installing the true file to her computer. The other two are still in her download.
Yes.
Okay, so
Okay.
let me go back to, I'm going to go to my download screen and see if it's there. So once you click install, if you go back to your because your download, let me go back to this other screen share. Once you click install, if you go back to your download folder, you can delete all of those that are in your download, because a lot of times I'll go back and I'll clean out whatever's in there, because that's the only place it's at. Unless you save that zip file somewhere else, you can get rid of that in your downloads, because your install is saving to a different area, like holds all your fonts, which I couldn't tell you where it is, but
right. So I'm just
it automatically knows where to save. Yeah, so once you're done with that, you can delete if you feel like it's taking up too much room. Delete all those zip folders, and you'll still be fine with your font.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That was a question I had, because I think I'm saving too many and taking up too much space and slowing down things.
Okay. You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Let's go back and see if anyone else has a question. Okay. Okay, so I was at installing, okay, and then I had said once it's installed, just make sure that whether it's Inkscape or Word or Design Space, make sure you close it out because I had Inkscape open and I was downloading all of those fonts before I started the class, and I completely forgot to close it out. That's why I couldn't find some of the fonts. So just make sure that you close it out and open it back up, and they should all be there. Let's see, what else? Okay, so that was DaFont, and then I wanted to show you. Anybody have any other questions on DaFont.com on how to download, or maybe some font? Oh, this is what I wanted to show you guys. So KG, I can't remember her name, but if you type in up at the search box at the far right, there's a particular. Okay, let's see. Here it is. Kimberly Geswein. Her fonts, once you click on her name, that's her here, she has 273 fonts. She has a lot of fonts that I really like. She has frames. Anytime that you see little pictures in there, these are called dingbats, and if you click on it, like I like this little tree here with the little snowflakes. So once I download this font and I insert text, when I select this KG Christmas trees is the name of this font, and I click on the L, or I type L, a capital L, this is the tree that will show up. So I can cut that out in vinyl. It'll look really cute. So just go out there, and there's also a section at the top when you're on the main screen on dingbats, and you'll see lots of stuff out there. You'll see a lot of sports logos, lots of stuff. So check those out because I'm sure you can find a lot of stuff to use in here. But like I said, I like a lot of her fonts. She has a ton of them. So whoever had asked me, I don't remember who it was on that font that I was using at the beginning. I already forgot the name of it. Let's go back here. It'll come back to me later, but it was from her. She has that font that you were asking about. But yeah, it's one of the fonts that I use quite a bit. I can't remember the name at this time. So go back to, I wanted to show you dingbats. Where is that? Here we are, dingbats. So you have all these themes here on TV, movie logos, all kinds of stuff. This would look nice on vinyl. Okay. Now I wanted to show you guys wordmark.it. So there's no .com, it's wordmark.it. So here you don't have to download anything. It's just automatically going to recognize all the fonts that you have downloaded on your PC. So if I type Merry Christmas and click Load Fonts, it's going to pull up all the fonts that I have downloaded on my PC. So if I wanted to see this one compared to this one compared to this one, I can filter selected, so those three, and then if it shows up the name at the bottom. You can select however many you want, and you can either print it or save it. Before I had printed all of my text out, but I've downloaded so many more, I need to update it. But it's good to just refer to, just to see it down, on paper, because if you were to type in Design Space, 3 lines that said Merry Christmas, and then you change each one to the different fonts, that takes too much time. So I like that you can see all your fonts here, but like I said, it will not show Design Space fonts, just your downloaded fonts, or your preloaded fonts that came when you purchased your computer. So that's pretty helpful there. You can also, I have down at the very bottom, it's really, really tiny. it says sign up to save your selections. You just put your name and I think an email address. I don't think I've ever received email addresses or any type. I mean, I may be receiving some spam. I don't know. But you can create a profile and then have certain fonts saved. Like if I wanted to save that filtered, the 3 that I had filtered, you can save that. I'll just show you really quick. Let's see, sign in. Oh, I don't know what my password is. Okay, well, I don't remember my password, but whenever you go in there, it'll show you your saved filters. That can be kind of helpful because I know that in Design Space, whenever you're working on a font and can you see my Design Space screen? Okay, when you're working on a font and let's say you changed it, you lose the name of the font once you start welding and slicing and doing all different kinds of stuff. So normally some people will just type in like another line and put the name of the font so that they can remember what font they were using. That's a way to use it if you were to use Wordmark. I would just save it in there just so that you know, and then you could save it with the project name that you're working on. But that's what I use it for. Does anybody have any questions on Wordmark? No? Okay, well we have a little less than 30 minutes or so, probably about 20 minutes. So I want to open it up to you guys. You can ask me anything. It doesn't have to do with text. If you're working on a project that you're having trouble on, just let me know. I can probably help you. If it has Cricut design space cartridges or fonts, you can share it with me and I can try and help you out. Just let me know. So I'm going to open it up to you guys. You can either unmute yourself and ask me, or you can type it in because I'm going to have my screen up. No questions? Y'all are too easy. I wanted to be challenged here. Does anybody want me to go over Inkscape? Because I feel like I went through that pretty quickly.
Question on Inkspace. Is that what you have to save your files in order to be able to share them with the group? Because I notice that when I build something inside Design Space, if I've used an outside image, I can't share it.
That's correct. You can only share with Cricut Design Space images or fonts.
But if I save a file in Inkspace, I can share it from there directly, or I can save it onto my hard drive and share it?
Through Inkscape?
Mm-hmm.
Through Inkscape, whatever you create, you can share like via email. You can send it as a file, or you can share it in Facebook if you wanted. It just depends on the image. With a lot of the copyrighted images, like a lot of the images that people are requesting on Facebook might be something that belonged to somebody else and it was converted, you know, that they're being really strict on what can be shared on the Facebook page, but you can easily share it via like email. You can send it as a file if you wanted to.
Thank you.
You're
I'm
welcome.
not really new to this, so just want to make sure.
Sure, no problem. Any other questions?
Do you have a pattern for doing it on the glasses so it's arched a little, or no?
No. Personally, I haven't arched it to put onto the glass. I just use it as a straight line. Is this Vicky asking?
Yeah,
Oh,
clerk.
okay. No, that's okay. That's okay. You know what? It might be easy to do that, just to curve it a little bit. But as far as you said pattern, it would have to be whatever you're working on from you. I don't have anything that could send to you where you can add your text onto it and then change it. It would have to be. Let me see. I'm gonna switch back to Inkscape really quick and then show you. I'll show you on there.
Okay.
Do you have Inkscape?
Yep. I know
Okay.
a little bit about it.
Okay. Okay. Can you see my Inkscape screen?
Not yet. Nope. Now I can.
Okay. All right. So let's see. If I were to do, I'm not going to insert a circle because that'll be too arched. What I can do is use this line. Can you see when I hover over it? Do you
Yeah.
see the description?
No, but I know what tool you're doing. I think
Okay. Okay. It's so weird because it'll tell me the name of the tool, but it doesn't show you. Okay, so I would use this tool here just to do a line. And then grab the nodes tool, which is this other arrow looking tool underneath the regular arrow, and highlight that. And it'll highlight the two nodes. And the nodes you use to change the shape of your line. But what I want to do is I want to drop the middle part just a little bit, just so it's arched.
Okay.
So I have those two selected, but I'm gonna click up here at the top. The little plus sign is to add an additional node, and it's gonna automatically put it in the center. Okay. So now I can click. Okay, I clicked on this one, so now this one is highlighted in blue. And I'm going to choose this one here. And like I said, when I hover over it, it's telling me what it's going to do. So it says make selected nodes symmetric. So that's the one I want. So now I'm going to drop it down. And what I can do is hold the control key, and these little handles here at the edge, I'm holding the control key down, and as I'm pulling on one, the other one is moving too. That's why I selected symmetrical. And I'm going to raise it up just a little bit because I don't want it too arched. You just want it just a little bit, right? Just so that it can go around that cup. You might even want it to go up a little bit. So let's do it like that.
When you do a cup, do you do it down or do you do it up? If you're doing a wine glass, the tall wine glass.
Well, I don't arch it though. I just type it out straight. So when I put it on, it's just going on. That's what I'm saying. I've never really arched it, but this was just a way for me to show you in case you did want to arch it a little bit, because it might help.
It will help me because, boy, I don't know what I do wrong.
Well, I'm going to do one later this evening, and I'll record it. And I'll show you what I do, how I was talking about snipping just cutting a little bit of the transfer tape, just a little bit, just so that you have a little bit more way to manage it when you're putting it down. Because if it's all on one strip, it's kind of hard to, move it around. If you want to kind of arch it a little bit, you can doing it that way. Like I said, it's kind of hard for me to explain over just talking to you, but I'll try and do it on a video so I can show you. But if you did want to do it this way, if you wanted to do an arch here, that's a way of arching the line. And then you would just add your text. And then just follow the same steps how I did it with that circle. So you would select both of them, and you're going to put the text on path.
Okay, I'll try it that way.
Okay.
Because even when I put it on the cup,
I'm sorry, what? Even if you put on the tablet? Oh, there's an echo. I don't know. Can you hear it echo?
Yeah, I'm hearing it.
Okay, I'm not too sure what happened there. Okay, I just muted you guys. Can you still can you hear me echoing? Just type if you can hear me echoing or not.
You're not echoing anymore on my end.
Okay.
No echo.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, like I said, Vicki, I'll see. Trying to think what I need to work on today. I don't know if it's a long sentence like yours. What was yours again?
Mine is don't even ask. The next line is hard day and easy day.
Don't even ask was on one line. Okay. Yeah, I'll try that. I'll use that as an example and see what we can do. How many have you done so far like that?
2, and one's really weird. My son says, well, Mom, it looks like they've been having a hard day. It's a little wobbly. They've been drinking. It's good.
It's got character. Okay. All right. Well, did you have any other questions or anybody else?
Nope.
No? Okay. All right. Well, like I said, I'll try and get that to you. Hopefully mine works out okay. I might even have the same problem you're having. But if nobody else has any other questions, I hope y'all have a good evening. And next week, I don't even have my schedule up. I need to look at what class I have going on next week. I think it's Print and Cut. So if you're interested in that, make sure you join on my Facebook group so that you can get the link. But if not, any other questions that you have, please reach out to me on Facebook or my blog or however, my email, and I'll try and get back to you. So if nobody else has any other questions, I hope y'all have a good evening.
You too. Thanks.
All right, thanks.